Okay, so welcome to today's SME Growth Cohort session. It's the 10th of September, and today we've got a special open session dedicated to getting your business recommended by AI. Now, first of all, I just need to do a little bit of scene setting. This session today is a follow-up to a public experiment that we kicked off just before summer. I'd been running a series of guest talks that I'd called my little black book of value creators, and a chap named Andreas was the recipient of one of my LinkedIn outreach messages. And he subsequently asked me, how do I get into your little black book? So I said at the time, there's two ways in. We either go to the pub and we have a few beers, or you prove to me that you can create value with your business. Andreas chose the latter. Actually, it's not a reflection on my company, but he chose the latter. He chose to prove that he can create value. So Andreas runs an SEO company now with a focus on driving AI recommendations. So we agreed that if he could prove that he could get me recommended by the new AI tools as the best fractional CTO, then I'd add him to my little black book of value creators, which seemed like a fairly straightforward value exchange. And today, Andreas is going to be talking about that experiment, sharing what we did, how we did it, and hopefully giving you guys some ideas of how to prepare for this transition from traditional Google search to AI recommendations. Before Andreas gets into the details, keep in mind that I've never really relied on my website for referrals. So existing SEO was pretty minimal. Exposure for relevant keywords was also pretty minimal. So this is not like there was a healthy baseline to start from that would make this experiment easy. So I don't want to spoil any surprises. So at this point, I'm going to pass over to Ash to tell you more about the experiment, what we did, how it went, how we did it. Hopefully give you guys some ideas and also the opportunity to ask the questions that you might have. So Andreas, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Graham. Very generous introduction. Today we're going to talk about how to get your business AI recommended to your target buyers in 90 days. We're going to cover quite a bit compared to last time. So I'm sure it's not lost upon you that AI will overtake Google by 2026, or at least that's the forecast. Even Google is overtaking itself with AI mode, which is its product response to ChatGPT and other AI. As you can see, there's no 10 blue links anywhere other than just information and sources. Even the New York Times recently declared this year that SEO is dead. Not sure I agree. I'm sure we can all agree that SEO isn't quite what it used to be. It's a shadow of its former self, but it definitely isn't dead. Whether you'd pay as much as you would in the past for it is debatable. But one thing we can all agree is that your potential buyers will look you up online, whether it's your investors, customers, potential staff looking to see if they want to join your company or not. You need to be visible. And not just for today, but also for tomorrow, because agentic search is coming. ChatGPT has just dropped its agent. There are open source agent technology like NA10s. So if you're not AI visible today, you're going to be nowhere tomorrow. Okay, blunt, but it's pretty true. And so what we did for Graham is we put together a thought leadership piece on business valuations, because Graham, as the principal of Full Stack Consulting, is looking to provide support to business leaders looking for an exit. So what we did, or our technology, I should say, is we data mined 118,000 opinions on valuations, particularly business leaders' opinions on valuations, because it's buyer targeted. And we got technology that's data mining and have been data mining opinions on a daily basis. And we're data mining using AI's data sources. Now, it's really important to make this distinction here, that it's about using data sources that feed AI, not using AI as a data source, and I'll explain more later. And the other thing is, it's not just the data itself, but what you do with it. So coming from a machine learning data science background, we use those techniques to maximize the confidence so that it passes the fact checking algorithms, and I'll explain more about that shortly. So like once we did that, within a month, although I think Graham said it was within a week of publishing, we got full stack into the AI results for the questions and the sections covered by the report, as you can see here. But not just Google, also across all of the major AI platforms that you see before you.
Andreas, can I give a bit of context on that one?
Sure, please.
So Andreas said that it was pretty quick. So I think it's useful for you guys to know, especially those of you who have been looking at trying to generate leads for SEO previously. In days gone by, I'd write articles, I'd put them up, and it was a struggle to even convince Google that they were worth showing in the index. I thought they were really interesting. I liked them, but Google didn't, and they certainly didn't generate anything. What was interesting about this research piece is I think the timeline was something along the lines of I published it on the Friday, Google had indexed it over the weekend, it was getting exposure for it in a Google search by the Monday, and then I think I saw it in the Google AI overview by the Wednesday. So everything that Andrea said was true, but from my perspective, seeing what actually happened in the logs, it was lightning quick, especially compared to what I'd been able to achieve with the traditional write an article that you think is interesting, upload it to the website, and wait and see what happens. So anyhow, Andreas, back to you, but that's the context from my side.
No, thank you. It's very, very useful context, because unless you work for a company like Accenture, where you're a very well and respected authoritative quantity on the internet that Google would recognize, and all of the LLMs, of course. Even in the SEO world, those kinds of speeds are unheard of, and you wouldn't be able to achieve it using best practice SEO. Like it just wouldn't happen. Certainly if you're not a startup. So that's the thing. If you're winning in AI, you're crushing it in SEO. And here's an example. And by the way, this screenshot was taken a month after. If we were to give you an updated screenshot of today, you would actually be ranking above the Institute of Chartered Accountants, Graham.
Oh. Well, thank you.
So you've not only got there quickly, but you've endured and improved. So, look, with the greatest of respect to Full Stack, they're not 100 staffed company. Full Stack really, in SEO terms, have no business ranking above Investopedia and HSBC within a week. Considering what they spend, and I used to do SEO for HSBC as part of Omnicom Group, so I know from the inside what it takes what the kind of resources they're throwing at SEO. So this is the advantage of the startup, is you have speed, whereas working for these global corporations with massive budgets, they're like oil tankers. There's a lot of meetings that need to happen before anything gets implemented. So look, the reason why you're crushing it in SEO, if you're managing to win in AI, is because AI has it has more constraints to work with. It's got rising energy costs, and there are chip shortages. So it doesn't have as much tolerance for low bar content, or content that's not quite as good as AI wants it to be. AI simply cannot afford low standard content. And when I say low standard, I mean from their point of view and from a user point of view. And look, this is not just for research type thought leadership content. This is also for buyer ready type searches, such as best fractional CTO. And we managed to achieve that within 3 months. You can see that, and if you wanted to Google or ChatGPT it now, you'll still see that is the case. It's not just a screenshot. So
can I give you a bit more context here, Andreas?
please,
on
please.
on that screen grab there, the bit you've highlighted in the overview, obviously it mentions full stack consulting, then it goes on to mention Freeman Clark. Freeman Clark are the established fractional CTO agency that have been around at least 10 years, probably 20 years. Like they're the big player in that space. And it's, for me, it's nice to see my head appearing on the right, but also before them in the list on the left, when full stack consulting essentially is just me against their established company. So once again, quite an interesting point to pull out, I think.
Thank you, Graham. And 2 spots above everybody else in the traditional search results.
Yes. The other thing I would say, in that search, I see you've got the UK suffix on the end.
Yeah, so that's because my browser, my browser is most of our clients are in the US, so it's regionalized to US. But if you were to do it without the UK suffix, you would still appear top.
That's exactly what I found.
Yeah, yeah. So let me just, and obviously not just in SEO, but all across the major SEO platforms. And I just want to call out that, as you mentioned earlier in the context, that you've never really spent a serious penny on SEO prior to working with us, and yet you're beating people, as you can see in the results, with 3 to 5 years SEO investment, and we've achieved that in 3 months. And for us, this is just another day in the office. Like, we understand LLMs really well, and I'll get to that.
Can we just take a look at the question in the chat, Andreas? Can we then say, more than ever, content is really key to survive? Like, my initial reaction to that is yes, but the type of content is more important than ever. But Andreas, can you comment on that?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think more content is very much the SEO mindset way of thinking, because it works so well. But now that AI has raised the bar in terms of understanding the context and the who of the person searching, what this means is that your content has to offer a lot more value than something that's copy pasted off the web. It needs to provide proprietary value, something that the world didn't know before. And I'm going to talk more about what goes into making that content compelling versus. So it's less about the volume of content, it's more about the quality of the content. The quality of content has been banded around for at least 25 years. But really, it's what constitutes quality. And if you have to leave in 5 minutes because you've got a train to catch or a plane, then it's proprietary research that is the main game changer here.
Thank you.
So thank you. And if I may now introduce myself, I'm Andreas. I'm the author of this book here, Data-Driven SEO, published by Springer. I've also been named top 100 SEO by these guys here in the world, soon to be 4 years running. And I've been doing SEO for almost 25 years now, and I'm a growth science advisor to Amazon. I've trained their teams, and I also built my first LLM from scratch with the help of engineers ex-Amazon and Meta 5 years ago. And that gave me a unique insight. Building my own AI from scratch, and we're not talking vibe coding here, we're talking hard engineering, where, you know, I could see the future. I actually initially built it to help a law firm, you know, sift through the huge stack of case law documents, client case documents, so that they could get the gist of what the case was about and the potential applicable laws to help them shortcut and save time. So I was able to prepare for it, and when I saw the power of LLMs, I was able to see where it was going and prepare for the time when someone like the New York Times may declare SEO is dead. And therefore, that's why I built the infrastructure that I've got that helps us pull off the kind of proprietary research that might cost you tens of thousands or thousands of pounds for just the research alone, never mind the content. So I'm going to explain why why people are not getting ahead, especially SEOs, because they're denying the existence of what's known as GEO, Generative Engine Optimization, and how it actually works. So the first thing is most people in their content are not telling the world anything new. There's no information gain. And some people might say, oh, that's not true, but it is true. You know, companies are taking patents out on information gain, like Google here. They've taken a patent on information gain, and so this is just one way of emphasizing that your content really has to say something new, tell the internet and the world something new that it didn't know before. And using AI for content research doesn't count. You can't make AI smarter from something it already knows, even on deep mode. So, you know, I see on LinkedIn and a few thought leaders in the SEO industry, shockingly, that they're claiming that, you know, oh, but if you pay $200 or $400 or use deep mode, you know, you can produce the research that's going to get you into AI. Well, maybe for uncompetitive searches or in the absence of the kind of content we're producing, but otherwise you're not going to get in there. And the other thing is that most content is not audience driven, but it's keyword driven, right? Whereas we're producing, as you'll know, Graham, we produce content that was focused on what your target customer cares about, not what the whole internet cares about. We're not interested in trying to appeal to you know, your students, your grandparents, for some sort of dinner table discussion. You know, we're interested in attracting target buyers that are doing research or looking for a solution provider.
And so on that one, Andreas, again, let me just interject a little bit, because I
Sure.
think there'll be quite a few people on this call who've done exactly the same thing. Over the last couple of years, I'd have written a few articles around like fractional CTO and related terms. And as I said earlier on, nothing. I can see from the Google search logs that, let's take a term like fractional CTO services, I might rank somewhere around about like 80 or 70. It would bounce somewhere around about there. And that's through writing what I thought was interesting original content, because it was my perspective, but it wasn't actually telling something new. And to your point that you've got on the screen, it was about keywords that I was thinking about, well, what might people search? What's interesting is you shared the first piece of research you did, which was around business valuation statistics, which is a topic that I talk about. And then there was obviously the follow-up piece around best fractional CTO. And now, for the first time, I'm actually generating clicks in traditional search. This isn't even an AI, this is in traditional search. Now generating clicks for fractional CTO services. And it's not coming from my content. It's coming that talks about fractional CTO is coming from this stuff. So once again, there's a data point to confirm what you're saying there.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. So look, any content strategies that are using keywords, they're dead. That ship has sailed. You need to be leveraging buyer opinions. So for tools like SEMrush, I'm afraid it's rest in peace. That's not going to help you win in the AI age. What is going to help you win is using the same data sources as AI. As you can see, all of the logos that you see before you, they're producing the kind of data and content that you need to be data mining and analyzing in order to produce those proprietary insights. But it's not enough to have that data. You've got to have the statistical machinery to maximize the confidence intervals so that you can pass those fact-checking algorithms that the AI technologies and tools use to decide whether you're going to be recommended or have your research cited in their results. And what they're looking for is they're looking for content that's going to generalize well across the internet. So it's not your perspective alone, it's research that says Yeah, we could see that to be true, because when we go on the internet and correlate it with our own, data, this generally rings true, and therefore that's how you win the trust of AI, to position your company as an authority. The other thing is, like, we've seen it, there's even been articles about how SEO content has ruined the internet. I think that was published by The Verge. It was a bit angry towards the SEO industry, but if we strip out the emotion there is some truth in it. The playbook for the last sort of 10 to 15 years was to produce these SEO guides that appeal to the entire internet. You could publish an English guide, and it would rank well, perform well in both, the US and the UK, and probably most other English-speaking regions like Canada and Australia. Well, AI has come along and said, well, that's not good enough. We want, research for the US and research for the UK, tailored research. Because, if you are searching in the US or the UK, you're going to be interested in, you generally are interested in statistics that are pertinent to, or that pertain to your business and your region, because that's where you do business. And so, and the other thing is that a lot of that content was not engaging. It's not, writing articles like what is ransomware recovery. You would never publish that share a post on that on LinkedIn, because you would look ridiculous. Like, your target buyers, if they're CTOs, for example, they already know what ransomware recovery is. They don't want something aimed at a student or the internet. They want something aimed at them. They want something that would pique their interest. So what you want is data-rich, brand-enhancing content. Your target buyers want to learn off other target buyers or your experience. They're looking to learn something new. So that's the kind of content you need to produce in order to get ahead. And this is the kind of content that, when we did it for a company called Infoscale, they're sharing this stuff on social media, and it's earning backlinks of people like TechTarget. Now, if you were to go to TechTarget and say, we want to do some sort of collaboration because you want a backlink among other things, they would ask you for like a good 5,000, maybe 10,000 pounds for a campaign where, they'll throw people at you, and you'll get a backlink, and you'll get a video and an article and maybe a webinar and all of that business. But it's going to cost you a lot of money. Whereas, not only are we getting backlinks from TechTarget, we're getting backlinks off these guys pretty easily. We don't need to do the hard sell. The content sells itself, and that's the beauty of what we're doing. It's not just a new form of search technology that loves it. People love it too. Journalists love it too. And the other thing is that most content on the web is, when it's published, is inefficient to process. It costs AI too much to read. You remember we talked about the rising energy costs. Unfortunately, AI is not advanced enough to process information like the human brain does at 20 watts. So they may choose to ignore it, depending on how hard it is, because this is what we see and understand. We can instantly get the gist of what the article is going to be about when we just click our eyes onto it, whereas this is what they see and understand. It's painstaking, right? There's a lot of energy and computing power required to convert the letters to numbers, and then working out what those words mean and how they relate to each other.
So what's the difference, Andreas? What makes content that is easy for AI to digest versus content that's difficult for AI to digest?
Well, I'm about to tell you, Graham.
Oh, thank you.
So schema code really helps. It's going to break down the content, adding context. To give you like a really easy example, if you have a bunch of numbers on the web page, what schema does is it gives additional context to say, well, is it a price? Is it a postcode? Is it a telephone number, for example? Many examples, but it just adds that extra layer of interpretation for AI.
Andrea, just because most people on this call will be non-technical, just to summarize, when you're publishing content, you're in effect publishing two versions of it. There's the page that a human can read, but then you've got this equivalent behind the scenes that are designed to be consumed programmatically, such as by an AI tool. So you've got that two versions of the data.
Yeah, I would say it's more of an enhanced version, or these are like additional code that help break it down. So yeah, I suppose. Sorry, I'm being semantic, but yes, they're effectively two versions.
Got it.
The other thing you could do is you could reformat your content to FAQ format. So you have questions and answers, and it will definitely help, but none of these are game changers. There's no GEO or SEO sprinkling dust that you could put on your content that will suddenly get you into AI. The only way you're going to get into AI is if everybody else is doing a much worse job than you. But if someone like me comes along, you're toast. And the reason is, if you can do it, so can your competitors. So what is your competitive advantage by, reformatting your content or putting schema code? Everybody could do it, and it's very low cost and low effort. I just read a comment, but anyway, look, the summary is that content that makes AI smarter, right, is what's going to get you to win in the AI age and the SEO age and the agentic oriented optimization age. Okay, so that means you need to be identifying and publishing content on the topics your buyers truly care about, and that can only come from data mining the internet, and you need infrastructure for that. You just don't turn up. You wouldn't turn up to a Formula One race in a bicycle, so why would you turn up to AI search without the right tools, right? Or with SEO methods? It just won't work. And the other thing is that you need to prove more than AI and the internet about that topic. And again, you need infrastructure for that. You can't turn up with a bicycle. And look, when you produce this content, you need to tell the world about it. Now, even though I didn't tell the world about it when I gave you the first article, Graham, AI and Google were still able to get all over it within a week. If you're operating in highly competitive market sectors, you do need to tell the world about it. You do need to do a bit of digital PR. But once you get the first few citations or backlinks from really good sites that are not selling, then it's gonna take a life of its own. And this is what's possible, right? We turned our client. They're a small company based in Virginia, and we've beaten 7 other multinational companies to the 3rd spot as the third most AI visible brand in the US for their sector at the fraction of the leaders' budgets. In the top 10 are IBM, Veeam are like the IBM of disaster recovery as a service. So we're beating these companies on a fraction of the budget. It reminds me of where SEO was 25 years ago, where it was, with a bit of organization, pretty easy. I don't know if it's going to stay that easy, but that's why we're constantly doing R&D to stay ahead. And this is the kind of traffic that they're getting. It's a logarithmic scale, so they actually got 3 times more traffic and revenue in 12 months. I've got the CMO coming on video to give a testimonial. But the truth is, most companies aren't ready for that type of growth from AI. They need to get their topic foundations in place. They need to get it all mapped out and war gamed. Naturally, we can help you do that. But if you were to start anyway, you need to start with your AI topics roadmap. We can produce one on a special offer for cohort members, and it's money back guaranteed. That's how confident we are in our work. Like, AI search is like it's just another day in the office. It really is.
Nice. Thank you, Andreas. So, what in terms of first of all, anyone grab that link, but I'll also share details in the mailer that goes out afterwards and distribute, like let people know where they can get hold of you. In terms of what people need to start thinking about, though, like my read of this is, like my old content, like I think what the sort of type of content Sophie's describing as well. The problem with it is it's not got a link to what our target audience are actually talking about and interested in. So you had a slide a moment ago that had the logos of the various different social channels on there. Like if we said today, what could we do to start improving things? It would be find out what our ideal clients are talking about on those platforms and create a unique data set that links in with what they're talking about and has insights that link to that as well. Like that's something that we could start doing, but there'd be a scale problem. What you're offering is something that automates that entire research piece and then serves up that data as inputs for your human team to then create the written material on. But that seems to be the mindset shift that we need to go through. Is actually looking at what people are talking about and building data sets around that. Is that accurate, would you say?
Yeah, it's good old market research, right? So, and what we solve is not just a scale, but it's a speed problem too, because we've got the infrastructure and we could do that extremely quickly. So, you know, it's really about understanding your target buyers, you know, your target market. So, you know, if you didn't have technology like ours, you would end up having to, you know, hire market research or do it yourself. And, you know, things like, it's a bit like snail mail versus email, right? Email is sent across the world in a matter of seconds. Snail mail, you know, you have to have an envelope for starters, lick it, have stamps. If not, go to the post office, write the address down, and then post it. That's the difference. And so it's like, well, how do you do traditional market research to understand your buyers? It's like, okay, well, you need to think about, you know, MRS compliant, Market Research Society compliant survey questions, because you want to make sure the data you get is high quality. You're going to want to make sure that you're able to organize maybe focus groups. You know, there's a whole piece around that. I mean, can you imagine trying to not do it the way we do, or simply go to a market research company? I know when I asked for a quote in the States for market research to understand the market for SEO in the US, they wanted like at an entry level $30,000, but really you should be looking to spend around $100,000, you know, to get something solid. But yeah, but then you might say, well, that's a lot of money. But then how much is the SEO market in the US worth? Do you see what I mean? It's like, you got to ask yourself, you know, what's the ROI? And if you can't afford to do it the snail way, then you need technology.
Yeah, got it. Okay, thank you. So, all right, we've covered quite a bit of ground there. There's a lot of useful insights. There's some fairly technical concepts we covered as well, and some terminology. But let's open this up. Does anyone have any questions for Andreas or myself around either the experiment we did, the results that were achieved, the techniques and tactics that have been used? So, a question here from Sam in the chat window. Is Wikipedia not trusted in the data sources list? Is that only relevant for the informational traffic?
Well, it is trusted, but how do you leverage it from an audience buyer perspective? What is Wikipedia telling you about your buyers? Wikipedia is written by and written by quite a few people, but edited heavily by a very small, tight-knit group. So yes, it is authoritative, but the question is, how do you leverage that for your content? And we don't leverage it, but if you could tell me how you would leverage it to understand your target buyers,
If I
by
think
all
about
means.
if I think about our experiment, Andreas, I guess the difference being the buyers aren't contributing to Wikipedia. Like the conversations aren't happening there, so it doesn't tell us what our ideal clients are talking about, and therefore what to publish to actually attract their interest. If I
Yeah.
think about some of the other things you've said, the data sets and the insights we produce, they might need to be supported by facts and research that sits in Wikipedia to give us that kind of trust that we're talking about the right things as one trusted source. Um, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to flip that around actually, because I just seen the comment that Sam made just now that Wikipedia is seen as the gold standard. Yeah, and let's ask ourselves, how did Wikipedia become the gold standard? It became the gold standard by leveraging the knowledge of the internet and having a trusted editor to put that into a single article. So if you think about what we're doing, we're turning your businesses into the Wikipedia of what it does, because you're leveraging the knowledge of your target buyers across the internet in your target region. So if you think about the thought leadership reports that we're producing for you are the Wikipedia of what it is you profess to do. So, you know, if you think about how a lot of people do in their articles, they do backlink to Wikipedia. What do you think we're doing for our clients, right? By producing these thought leadership reports, we're getting backlinks from TechTarget and etc. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Wikipedia is the gold standard, and what we're doing for our clients is we're turning them into the gold standard. So that's how that hopefully that's a useful paradigm for you to equate Wikipedia with the stuff that we're doing.
I guess just one other little point on that before we move to the next question is that we're hopefully producing content as well that can earn links from Wikipedia to get the best of both worlds.
100%.
Okay, let's move forward. That's the money question, isn't it? So in terms of exposure, so yes, I could see, as we said earlier on, it appeared in the AI overviews. I could see from my Google Search Console that the mix of my exposure had changed from just brand searches on full stack consulting, which is mainly driven by stuff that I do on LinkedIn, to now searches on terms like fractional CTO services UK, and stuff like that. But more tangible as well. As I said earlier on, I've never really relied on the website for referrals, because historically I've just taken personal referrals, and that's kind of been it. I've always planned to change it, just never got around to it. I would say for the last 2 years, I've probably spent, I don't know, a couple of grand, let's say, on Google Ads campaigns that have produced one decent lead that turned into a fairly low value client and a small number of junk leads. And probably the last one, it would have been several months or so ago. In fact, I turned the campaign off, so it would have been a long time ago since that did anything. Since we did this piece of work, I think I've received 4 legitimate leads through the website. At least 3 of those I validated found me through ChatGPT. 2 or 3 of those came in just before I went on holiday in August, followed up with one yesterday about how we're actually going to engage and start a fairly small project. There's another one, again, we had a conversation just before I went on holiday. I'll follow up with them again this week, which would be a really rather significant project. And then the other one in between somewhere. So they're not closed yet, but they're very high quality leads that I've validated came from AI recommendations. And I think that's something that we haven't spoken about in this conversation, but I certainly see it in the whole conversation about SEO leads and transitioning towards AI generated leads. They are much more pre-vetted. Like by the time they come to my website now, they've had a conversation with an AI agent. They've asked it loads of questions. If they've come to me, they're quite interested in my service offering already. They've already done some research into this. And I think that shows that every one of them, we've gone on to have a high value conversation, and there's a decent likelihood that they'll convert into clients. Whereas the old leads I would have got from Google Ads, as I said earlier on, most were actually junk. So I think that's quite interesting. I will look forward to, we'll have to have another follow-up where we can say if they actually turned into pounds in the bank. But thank you for the question. I was hoping someone would ask that, so I could share, because I haven't even mentioned that to Andreas previously. So that's quite a result. Thank you for that, Kat.
Could I just add something there that, what we're doing here is not just about high value driving and increasing high value pipeline. It's also about increasing the value of your company. There's going to be a lot of rounds of consolidation in the next 2 to 3 years, especially among professional services firms like law firms. So if you're looking to get an exit, you're going to want to make sure you appear. Otherwise, you're just giving an excuse to the prospective buyer to ask for a lower price for your business. And I've been doing digital due diligence documents for a bunch of professional services companies to help either defend or get a lower value.
That's actually quite an interesting point, because again, we've got I can see at least 2 or maybe 3 fractional CFOs on the call here, and it's a Kat and Sophie, I know for sure. But this would be a really interesting space to watch, because on that whole valuation side, if you have got someone who's either exiting or buying, just as you would look at, say, quality of earnings when you're valuing a company, like if you can see that actually someone's marketing pipeline is about to fall off a cliff because they've been reliant on SEO leads, which are now falling away, and then not managing to pick that up with new AI leads. I mean, that's quite an interesting point. It's going to be one to watch, I imagine. All right, let's move forward though.
This isn't advertising, this is marketing. So
yeah, I get it.
So with advertising, obviously you pay for it, but you can't pay ChatGPT to appear as the top response for whatever it is you want to be known for. So it really just comes down to a lack of consistent effort using the right methods that we're using that create that inconsistency. Like, for example, there's no way my client, Infoscale, would have become the 3rd most visible brand in the US among the giants on the fraction of the budgets by being inconsistent. To be referenced by a third-party tool as the 3rd most visible requires consistency, right? And that means that when you see it, other people see it too, your customers see it, or your competitors, everybody sees it. So it's consistent effort that is the key.
Thank you, guys. That's good stuff. Let's move forward to the next question.
Whenever we publish content and we promote it, it may take a month, 3 months, 9 months, 6 months, a year, and then suddenly you see the content take a life of its own, and it will suddenly accrue backlinks like there's no business. Like we didn't have to, we got an email from, we got a backlink from Think with Google, for example, and we didn't even ask them for it. That's how good the content is. It gets backlinks from all kinds of places that we haven't been in touch with, and that obviously powers your SEO.
There's just a couple of things left to say. The first of which is, well, Andreas, welcome to my little black book of value creators. I'm delighted to have you in there, and thanks for taking on the experiment. It's obviously been great for me, but it's been really interesting to watch it as well. From what I've seen, as I say, you start from a low point SEO wise as far as my website was concerned, and you did what you said you would do. So if anyone is interested in this stuff, then give Andreas a shout. He said he'd do it. He did it in public, and we've had a chat about it today, so it's there for all to see. We've had quite a few guests in the session today, which has been great to see. So thank you all for joining. Hopefully this has given you a bit of a taste of the sorts of things we talk about in the session. I would love to see you guys coming back again. So there's a link, I'll put it in the chat window again, to the cohort application form. All of you guys would be welcome, and we meet this time every Wednesday. So thank you, Andreas. Thank you everyone for joining, in particular for the questions and the contributions. That's what makes these sessions really interesting. So let's wrap it up there, and we'll see you all next time. And I look forward to seeing what we do next, Andreas.
Yeah, me too. And I'm just glad it's delivering you actual business value. That's the big reward for me. So thank you.
Absolutely. Okay. If there's no final questions, we'll wrap it up there then.
Cheers all. Bye.
Thanks very much. Cheers, everyone. Bye.